right, for the cabin was a yellow, burnt sienna, Van Dyke brown, the greens, and I'm using all the colors from the kit. So the red, the scarlet red, Prussian blue, and the brown is what I got for the fall tree, which is like the really muted kind of fall colors, just really pretty. Then this is the snow colors. So I did the Prussian and burnt sienna, which, I think I've told, everybody before how much I love those two. Or you can do ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and you get these beautiful kind of grayish brown. If you go really dark, you can get brown. If you add a lot of water, you can get these really pretty grays, which is what I did for the snow. And I did add a touch of sky blue. So I'm going to be doing all of that. This, what you saw me do without the sound, was for the deer. And I was demoing how this paper is so thick that you can kind of mix the colors on the paper, and then as they absorb, they change, right? So that's why, mixing and playing around on the paper is so much more helpful for me than mixing on your palette. They're both really important, but when I'm testing colors, I like to wait till it dries, see what it got, that sort of thing. So anyway, I know we're running late, tech issues, but hey, this is going to be one of 4 giveaways. So by the next giveaway, probably next weekend, I'm going to have all this tech stuff smoothed out because it's been months since I've done a live. So thank you so much for your patience, everybody. I'm going to scroll down and look at the comments again and make sure everybody is good. Okay, so it looks like we're all good. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do first is the sky, and I have a craft heat gun here. I may use it just to speed things up. So what I'm going to start with first for the sky is, okay, great. Thanks, Joyce. You can hear me. I'm going to use the 6, and actually, I think maybe I'll use the 8. I'm only saying the 6 is because you kind of got to get in, in some little corners here. But that's the great thing about these brushes is you have like a really point. I'm going to go back to the 6. Okay, sorry. All right, so I'm going to use the 6. And what we're going to do first, I'm on Arches cold press paper, 300 pound. So it's pretty thick. Here's how thick it is. Right? It's thick. So it can take a lot of water. The 140 pound is probably the most common that you see. And that's probably about half the size, right? All right, great. So now I'm just adding pure water. Make sure I want to see my screen so I can see what you guys are seeing. There. Okay. All right, great. Now, and when I do the water, why I wanted to use a smaller brush, I'm going right against the roof there. So when I do the sky, the blue sky, and I'm not going to do that much because there's going to be a lot of trees behind it, but I do want a little bit of blue behind the trees, like just kind of peeking through the branches. I just think that looks so nice. So what I'm doing is I'm really piling on the water because this is thick paper, but still it takes a minute to absorb. Even if you have the Arches 140, still do, go ahead and do a lot of water. Don't be shy because it takes a minute to absorb. And now I'm going, and you can see I have my sketch, and I went pretty dark on my sketch, which is fine. I did it mostly for the camera because I wanted to make sure you could see. But I went this dark with the other painting with my sketch, and I actually kind of liked it, especially for the deer, because it needed some hard edges, the deer. and then I just kind of just dropped a little color in there. Okay, the sky isn't going to get all the way down to here. However, I don't want any hard lines, so I'm just bringing it down, and I'm also kind of protecting the cabin. Okay, so make sure I'm okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right for this sky blue that's in the kit. And I have it kind of over here, down in the bottom here, because I don't use it very much. I'm just using a touch. And I don't want it very, I'm using, like this is, that's plenty. Not too creamy. I would say a tea, right? There's cream, milk, tea mixture. This is a tea mixture. And then have your tissue ready. So if you need to blot right away, pick some up right away, then you have your tissue. And it's also great for clouds too. So now this is, the trees are going to be in front of this, right? So I kind of want it on the darker side of a blue. It's going to dry about 2 shades lighter, which is fine. I'm going to have a lot of trees back there, so I do want the blue. And it's wet, so I'm just going to watch it kind of bleed down. There we go. And I'll just do a little bit more over here. There. And that's it. Now, if you do want to make some clouds, you could get your tissue, right? Kind of just bunch it up a little bit. And you can do some little spots in there just for some clouds, right? And then you can have it ready, your tissue, just to kind of keep your edges neat. But that's kind of an easy and fun way to do clouds. Okay, we'll just let that dry, leave that. Then the next thing I want to do, let's get the color for the cabin ready to go while this dries. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute. And what I'm going to do is get the base color for the cabin, and I'm letting this absorb for just a minute. And I'm also going to put in some trees in the background while it's still wet, so the trees kind of blend out in the background. So while I'm waiting and kind of watching, I'm going to do a base color of yellow for the cabin. So I'm going to put that right there. I know this is messy, but I wanted to leave, this is the exact palette that I used the painting on yesterday. So I wanted to leave all my little puddles to save, for today, and also to just add to the colors. Okay, so I have my yellow ready. Now what I'm gonna do is show you the stamping technique. I am gonna use my 6 still. I'm still using my 6 size. Now this is still wet. I'll kind of tilt it around a little bit. You can kind of see how wet it is. So what I'm gonna do first is, because I want to get kind of a gold, the yellow leaves that are so pretty against the red, what I'm going to do is I have a little bit of an Indian yellow here. I'm just going to mix it in with this yellow, with the bright yellow. And then while it's still wet, I'm just going to do a few little dabs. And you can kind of see in the reference photo should be on the screen, but this is the exact same thing. You can see what I'm doing here, this yellow right in there. So it dries a lot lighter. It just looks really pretty against the red, the auburn fall colors. Okay, now I'm gonna do some stamping with, this is olive green with a little bit of Prussian blue to get that foresty green. More olive right now because I'm looking at trees that are in the distance, so I don't want them too dark, because if they're darker, they're kind of more in the foreground. So let's see, I'm gonna do just mixed in a little bit with the yellow and just do a little bit of green. And this is kind of, I know it doesn't look like leaves or anything, but it does kind of look like branches when you put the trunks in there. So we'll do a little green right in, and you can see it's bleeding, which is really pretty. I went right next to the roof there, and it's okay because the water is not on the roof, so it's not gonna get on the white snowy roof. Then I think while I have this color, I like this color, I'm gonna add a little bit of Prussian to it, Prussian blue, and do some over here. Even though it's a darker color, it's gonna be blurry and in the background. So you can see I'm kind of, there we go. These are just the background trees. I'm leaving some white, some blue. These aren't going to be in focus at all. And it's good to have a scratch piece of paper. Oh wait, I wanted to do a little smoke coming out of the chimney. So what I'm going to do is I rinsed my brush, I blotted it on the sponge, and what I'm going to do is kind of lift that up a little bit. Grab my tissue. And lift it up a little bit, and then we can blot it. So I can add a little, maybe a little brown in there. I think I used this color here for the smoke. And then just add a little water. You know, when in doubt, just add some water. And then that kind of gives it, it's forgiving. Does anybody have any questions? Or is this okay, me just kind of talking and just going for it? If anybody has any questions, just put them in chat. Okay. And good. Doesn't seem like it. All right. Kind of watching this. So this is kind of nice. So what I'm going to do here with this is put a trunk right down the middle there, and that'll look really nice. This is pretty. Look how it's spreading out. That's going to be fun. Second layer, I can do just a little bit more of the branches with this. So why don't we do this brush over on this side and get a little more green, background green on this side, and I'll use this brush. First layer of this brush. So, and you can see it's, as far as on my palette, I'm loading up the brush, and it's about a milky consistency. So it's not wet. It's not wet at all. And what I'm going for is what's behind this tree. I'm not doing this tree. I'm doing what's behind this tree. Okay? So I don't really mind, if it all kind of comes together, it's okay. Somebody said cauliflower is the biggest challenge. Okay. How do you stop cauliflower? So cauliflower is say I'm gonna make cauliflower right now. So what I do is you dip your brush into your water Okay, and then see how I have a lot of water on my brush right now, and my paper is damp. My brush is really wet, my paper is damp. And then I go and put my brush on there, and then see how the bead just spreads out like that. That's going to cauliflower. Okay, and even if you do just like one, even if you get like one drop on there, that will cauliflower out. See, it's starting to, and that's because the paper now is, the water is absorbing, it's damp. It's at a really good, um, it's at a perfect dampness to do a little more detail where I put my marks on it, and the edges are going to be harder, but not too hard. Like they're not going to be as blurred out like this. So when it's blurred out like this, you get, that's when the paper was really wet. Paper was starting to dry a little bit over here. That's why I have some hard edges, and I had a lot of load on my brush, creamy. Now over here, I had a lot of water on my brush and it spread out. So I'm not worried because this is just, the base layer, and it's not going to be in detail. So I kind of wanted it all green right there anyway. But that is how to stop the cauliflower. You always want your brusher drier than your paper. You don't want your brush wetter than your paper. Okay, so let's bring this green all the way down to the snow, and I'm going to change my brush. I'm going to go back to my 6 and just tap in a little bit of that green, and I'm going to turn it upside down now, and that way I can get a little edging of the snow. I'm going to go a little darker, so I'm going to add a little Prussian blue. And if you look at the bottom area here where the snow mounds are, it's pretty dark. And I know I'm going to be doing a tree trunk right in here. So while it's just kind of damp, I'm going to just kind of create the snow mounds. And I'm not going to do a straight line, but I'm just going to kind of do some areas. And then there's some trees right next to the house here, some pines. So what I think I'm going to do is take my brush and do the stamping technique here. And I am going to be doing gouache to do the snow on the branches of the trees. I did gouache with my fan brush. That's how I got the snow on top of the branches like that. Okay, and we're gonna do stamp, stamp, stamp. And that's what you do with watercolor. You work one area, you kind of let it dry, you see what's going on, then you'll work another area. Okay, we have to get this red. It's drying, so I want to get this fall color in, just a little bit of this fall color. So what I did was, again, I did the scarlet red, okay, and that's too red, so I knocked it back with a little Prussian blue, which makes a really pretty violet, okay, but then that's too violet, right? So I added brown, Van Dyke brown, and that gives it a rustic, kind of a rustic color, okay? And then it's okay to have, a little piece of paper just to test it on, right? You don't have to do your swatch card, but it's pretty close to what I did earlier. So now, while it's still wet, and if it's drying up here on the top a little bit, but that's okay. I can add some water. And you can see it's still wet because I really, when I did that little demo with the cauliflower demo, it added a lot of water to the paper. So I'm just gonna kind of do a little stamping there, right? And get some branches. And we don't want a lot of detail. So the focus for me was the house, the deer, and then the snow actually on the trees. Like that's where I really wanted the detail. I didn't want the detail on all the leaves and the branches. Okay, so I'm gonna just add a little water because that's a little too, I don't want those hard edges. And then just kind of let it do its thing. Now, like I said, don't worry. Oh, that's a good cauliflower example. See, I added too much water, but I don't mind because, like I said, it's a background. I'm going to be doing another layer, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, let's soften those hard edges there. Okay, so we have our first layer. Any questions so far? Anybody okay? Don't forget to comment for the gift box giveaway. Let me know what your biggest challenge is. Watercolors. Let me see. Any other? Yeah, no, I did. I don't know. Maybe next time I can get a moderator. If anybody wants to be a moderator for me, that would be great for next weekend. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to keep moving on. We're going to do the house now. So I'm going to move to I'm going to do size 2, okay? And like I said earlier, I have my yellow ready to go. And I'm also just kind of watching what happens. You can kind of see how this red is really spreading out. I really like it next to the yellow. I think it's so pretty. I'm going to do a base layer of the cabin. Now I have a pretty wet, this is a wet, like a watery tea wet load on my brush of yellow. And I'm just going to do the wood part of the cabin. And try not to outline it and then fill it in. Try to go side to side because that will help any kind of, draw lines, that sort of thing. And then we're going to get this right up there. Okay. And it dries a lot lighter, so don't be afraid to really get the yellow on there because because the burnt sienna, that can take over. You don't need a lot of burnt sienna color. And the door, if you notice the door in the reference photo is a little cream color. I decided to do the same color as this tree. I thought they would work well together. So now I'm going to do a little burnt sienna. I'm going to just put a little bit right here. It's pretty orangey. A little bit orangey burnt sienna. And it's still wet, so it should still bleed. And what I'm going to do is do like the panels of the wood. But here is the edging, so that I can go up and down, that piece of wood right there. But even in this tiny little spot, it's really better if you go, horizontal paint this way instead of filling it in, doing the edges and filling it in. Then let a little bit of the yellow come through. And do the other one before it dries. And if it dries and it's not, bleeding and spreading, you have hard edges, just add some water, which I'm going to do here in a sec. And then we want this one to go up vertical. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna I'm gonna add a little bit of brown in here. And then that should darken up. And I'm still gonna do kind of like the wood planks. See how the brown really takes over? So I'm gonna blot that on my sponge. And then this right here is actually the snow. So I kind of want to, where the end of the house is. And this again, too, we're going to be doing layers. So this is just the first layer. We'll get the more detail in the second layer. A little bit there. And there is the wood next to the door, like the door frame. So that is going vertical up and down. So it's okay to paint that like that. Add a little brown up here and just kind of get the edging of the window, the frame of the window. That's okay to get the frame of the window. It's actually going to be white, so I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to go over it with white with the gouache. Okay, good. So now I'm going to, whoops, I did that. Add a touch of water, a little more brown, and there we go. I've got this wood right here, this framework. So I'm going to get that. And I'm following my drawing too. So I can see my drawing in there. Okay, I'll try to speed this up here. Let's go fast as I can. A little brown, some knots in the wood. I'll frame the door. Okay. And let me see, the snow is going to be about right here. And again, this is, let's see, then for the eave, the roof, it kind of has these little divots in there. So I'm kind of creating those, and it's nice because it does give a little, when it's finished, it's not a straight line, and it does kind of, give the illusion of snow with the white. So I'm kind of, you can kind of see, I'll put it up a little closer. I'm just doing that. If you look closely to the reference photo. Okay. So there you go. And a little bit of a line here for the edge of the roof. We can do that. Okay, and look at what happened with the background. The trees. Yeah, they're drying. They look good. Okay, so now I think we're good to go to do a second layer on the trees. Let's do a second layer on the trees while the cabin is drying. And I'm going to use my fan brush. Just see, any questions or anything, anybody? Okay, no? Any questions? We're good? Okay, we're good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is a thicker puddle on my palette here. I'm digging into the olive green. I'm really getting a nice puddle on here. Nice mixture. Then I'm going to dip. I know, don't hate me. I'm going to dip right into my Prussian blue. But I pretty much know I'm not going to use the Prussian blue. Maybe for one other thing, one other color. The tree, I'm pretty much done with it. All right, so that's a nice winter green. If you can maybe add a little more water, we can test the consistency and then just kind of give yourself a little bit of practice, right? So these are going to be branches. Okay. There you go. Maybe add a little more blue. Good, I like that. Well, I think I'm gonna go over here and get the one behind the house. Let's get that done because I'm pretty sure it's really dry over here. So what I'm gonna do is start here and work my way up. So it's basically to a point. And you really don't need a ton of detail structure right now. You just need like one or two branches coming out because when you put the snow on, it's going to give it the structure that it needs. So we can create another one back here. We can do a couple more. We can do maybe a bigger one right here. See it okay? And then if your tree doesn't work out, you can just turn it into a bush, a shrub. Don't worry about it. Okay, good. Great, so we're getting some there, and then I'm going pretty close to the roof. I'll probably get my other brush so I don't get anything on the roof. Then I'm gonna dip a little more water, get a little more bit more. Okay. And I'm gonna get this one over here, and then I'm gonna do the red tree. And this one has a lot of branches. I'm actually following what I did yesterday because I liked it. And then they get wider as it goes down. And I like how it kind of goes off of the canvas. And then once you put the trunk in there, it kind of comes together. It makes sense. And let's add a little more water so it gets lower for a lighter green, not so dark. There we go. Kind of nice because it looks like they're falling a little bit there. Good. And we can maybe make one back here. Make some shrubs in here. Trunk is going to be right here, so I'll do a little like they're in the a little bit more in the distance. Okay, good. So now I'm going to do the red tree with this brush. Let's see. You know what I think I'm going to do? Sorry, change of plans. I'm going to grab my small brush. I think I'm going to put the trunk in here while it's still wet. That way the brownish color blends in a little bit. So I'm going to take this. It's going to be the trunks are kind of a greenish brown if you look. So I'm taking a little brown, adding it to the green. And I'll just kind of get a little outline, where I want it to go. There we go. I'm gonna get a little bit of this peach color, see what happens, because I want like a taupe color. There we go. I don't really want brown. I don't want it to be too harsh. There. So I want a thicker trunk. I like that, like what's in the reference photo. Okay, good. Maybe we'll put a little bit, while this is still wet, just put a couple branches on this one. Okay, so we got a little structure there. And then I think while I'm doing the trunks, the browns, I'll do a little bit darker, a little darker one for this. Again, while it's not that much, it's not really wet, but it is a little bit still. Just helps to, if you need a little structure, if you're losing it, then go ahead and do the trunks and the branches, and it'll probably help you see where your trees are going to go. Now you're probably wondering, right? What the heck am I doing? I'm sure. Okay, good. Now I want to get that red tree in. So I have my little mixture here. And it's a nice creamy mixture. And it looks it's not going to be dark enough. So I'm going to go more. This is the Scarlet Red, Prussian Blue. We get our nice violet, touch of brown, and that should be good. A little more red. There we go. That's pretty. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. There is another way to do it too, is splashing with water first. I'm going to get in the green a little bit. There you go. I'm going to rinse. Okay, and I'm blotting with water. I just kind of touched. I want my brush to have a little bit of water on it because I want to lighten up this color. So I kind of want, so this will give me different values, right, of this red color. And just kind of make a little, it's almost like stippling, actually I meant to say. And I really don't want too much of a structure. Again, I don't want a lot of detail in the back. There. And then when I put the trunk on there, that should be good. It's going to dry a lot lighter. So let's let that dry. And let's get to, let's do the door on the house. I'm definitely going to go over a little bit because we got a late start. So, yeah, I'm committed to another 15 minutes. I think it'll take to get the gist of the rest of this. Okay, so we're going to do the door. So while I have my little mixture here of the red, remember I liked the color of the door is kind of similar to the tree, so they work with each other. So what I'm going to do is get my puddle here pretty wet. I think you can see it. And I'm using my size 2 brush. And this is a strong pigment, strong color. So if you just have a little bit of the color first, right, that's okay because you can add the color as you go. So kind of, and again, this is 300-pound paper and it really absorbs the water. So I'm using like a lot of water. I'm going to apply the water first, and I purposely have a little pigment on it, so you can see it for the camera, so I can see it where the water's going. And then I'm going to drop in some more of the red. There we go. So now usually doors, right, they're a little darker, they have maybe some stains coming down from the window, so that's why I did a little drop in there, let it bleed down. The top part of the door should be have a little bit of a shadow, so I'm going darker on the top part of the door and outlining. Okay, I kind of really like that little bleed that's happening there. That's pretty. And yeah, let's see. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to rinse my brush, blot it on the sponge. I'm going in for the Prussian blue. And I think I'll just do it right here. Like I'm letting it absorb, just kind of seeing what's going to happen. I don't want to go too dark with the blue. And now I'm going to do a little edging. While it's wet. So it'll be like a little shadow. Kind of creating a shadow on the door from the roof. And then just kind of let it bleed down. And again, dries lighter, dries about 2 shades lighter. Okay, that's fun. I'm kind of like bleeding down like a little rustic door. And then on this one, I don't know if it really worked out that great, but I purposely blended like the little walking path with red so to have it like the reflection of the door. Not sure if it worked. I kind of like it, but it kind of looks, I don't know. Anyway, you can let me know what you think. Hey Cherry, biggest challenge is color harmony. Yes. That's why we have our Swatch Diary. So you can do your colors first, right? See how well they work together, play, mix them together. That's why we have our beautiful Swatch Diary. Okay, nice. I'm liking this tree. So what I'm going to do, it's pretty, I think it's drying fast because the heater's on, right? It's, hello, it was like 12 degrees this morning, which is, I think half the country is freezing right now. So perfect day for a demo. What I'm going to do is I had that mixture here of my trunk. Here it is. It's a little green. I think before it dries too much, excuse the snipples, I'm going to just do, what's wet? Okay, the door is wet. I don't want to touch anything. It's still kind of wet. I'm just going to do a little bit of trunk and branches. I get a little thicker there. And the branches are pretty prominent because it's fall. Looks like it looks like it's an early snowfall because the leaves are still on, still have a little color on them. Kind of like us. We had an early snowfall a few weeks ago. Okay, so That's good because that gives me a foundation. Doing those little branches gives me a foundation of where I'm going to put the snow, right? Because I want to put a little snow on here. And we still have to do this. Let's finish up over here. Well, I'm watching the door dry. Let's finish up over here. Then we'll do the snow. Let me just do this so this dries real quick. I've got to get another layer of this in. So let's just do a little stamping. And I'm just going to grab this color. There's a tree that I'm looking at in the reference photo. I'm not sure which one I want to use. I'm just going to use this one. It's kind of a messy tree, which is easy to do. Since we have a lot of the pointy ones, I'm going to do so this is actually would be good. I don't want to do it right now, but if you did your spray bottle, you spray your spray bottle onto the paper and then you drop in a little bit of paint, it gives you kind of this abstract-y shapes, and it's good for trees. Okay, and then we also need to get the like a shrub in down here. So let's get these in. Just get some green next to the house. Again, I'm just really getting I just want branches so I can put the snow on. I'm not being picky at all because I'm going to cover the tips, but half of these are going to be covered with the white gouache for the snow. So I really just want to get green in there. There we go. And then it's just some kind of branch. And then let's see, the snow pretty much starts about right there. Okay, great. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let me just do a quick branch while it's wet. Still pretty wet. Okay, that's good. All right, now let's get to this snow. I know it's getting late. Let's get to the snow. So I'm going to use a size 4. And what I was saying earlier, you didn't really hear me, I don't think, is I used Prussian blue with burnt sienna to get a gray, right? So here's the mix. Let's do this. Here's the mix. Now, what I'm going to do is add this sky blue and really water it down to get kind of a bluish gray for the snow, right? So now I have this. I'm going to really water it down. See the difference? So, and that's how much water I'm going to do. So I have a clean brush. I'm going to wet, what am I going to do? All right, I'm a pretty wet brush. This is like watery wet with a little bit of the gray on there. So we're going to get some definition of these little snow mounds here in front of the house. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So the bottom, and then a little bit more gray. It's okay that this area is a little gray, right? A little dirty snow. And then I'm going to add water here. Should I add the red to it like I did in the other? So you see me kind of keep dipping into my water, blotting onto my brush, because because I'm blending the color out. I'm putting the color down pretty thick, and then I just add a little blend of water on my brush, and then I can just kind of blend it out. So I'm going to do the tiniest little bit of red for a little bit of reflection of the door on the snow, and go a little lighter this time. Okay, so see, like the tiniest little bit of amount. Okay, now we're going to get into the more bluish mix here, and I'm going to do get a little shape. Let's do here. So there's a trail right here. So what I'm doing is kind of creating a trail. So this is going to be part of a trail, just to give you, this is what I'm doing. And then if I need to add water, if it's too dark, I just add water. But for right now, I want it kind of dark. Again, it dries lighter. It's going to dry a lot lighter. So you can usually just the tips, you want to do the color in the base of the mounds and then leave the tips white. I think that's kind of the best way to make it look realistic. And less is more, you know, you really don't need to do a ton. Now I'm going to go right through the deer because I'm going to paint him. So softening the edges, just adding water to my brush. Then while it's kind of wet over here, I'm going to go into my gray, maybe a little more gray, and see. There you go. Make little deer, make his little paw prints. And then that's good for now. I'll probably do a couple more when that dries when I do the deer. So let's see. While it's still wet, I'm going to go a little darker and define this path a little bit. And I'm looking at the reference photo. I think I'm going to go, I can add water. And we got to go back here. There we go. And then let's go in here. This is kind of a dirtier snow, right? A little brown because it's been shoveled. So let's make a little dirtier pathway. And then this back here is in the distance, so we want it a little darker and maybe a little darker over here. Okay, so let's see. We also should probably do, I'll make it a little bit more defined in front of the house. Adding a little water, blending. If you just keep adding water, you know, you'll be fine. Just a really watery puddle. There, and leave some caps, you'll be fine. Okay, this is drying a little bit around for the deer marks. Get a little brown. So I'm gonna make some more, a little darker. There. Okay, here we go. Kind of fun. See, it's coming together, right? Just layer, layer, layer. Layer, layer, layer. Okay. Let's do the deer. That's fun. I know you guys are probably waiting for the deer. The only thing left for the cabin are the windows, which is Payne's gray, the chimney, which is just a brownish, and then, oh, actually, I'm glad I looked at the cabin. We got to do the edges of the snow cap here. So that really defines the roof. I'm glad I looked at that. So this side, if you look in the reference photo, is kind of really blue. So it's probably getting more of the sky. Where under here, it's a different color. It's kind of like a brownish, not brown, well, kind of like a taupe. Anyway, so I'm just going for it since I have the color, my snow colors ready to go. And it's kind of at an angle there. And you don't want a straight line. So I'm going in, dipping in a little bit, right? Okay. Good. Rinsing my brush, adding a little water, just picking it up a little bit so it's not too dark, and so I have different values, different levels of values. The hard edge is fine with me. I think it kind of looks good. It'll look like snow. So now I don't want the same blue down here. It's a different shadow. It's not coming from the same angle of the sun. So I'm actually want to pick up a little bit more. It's getting a little dark. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is add like a touch of yellow to the blue here. Might be a little green. Yeah, that might be a little too green. That's probably what it is. It's picking up the green from the trees. So we'll just do a little bit more gray down here. And then again, I'm kind of doing little waves. I'm not doing a straight line across. I think, and I love how the roof has this slope. I think it's the funnest thing. And a wave, and then we'll get a couple little lines in there. There we go. Good. It's got the reflection of the cabin. I think we need to go a little darker line, like right in there. There. Okay, I hope you're able to see that little detail. So that's good. So let's see what happened with the snow. It's drying. That looks pretty good. Now if you have too hard of edges, like say over here, my brush is clean, right? I dipped it. I just blotted on the sponge, and I'm just going to add some water there. Give it a little bit of a scrub. And then that softens the edge right there. And we can soften this edge a little bit. But I kind of like it. I kind of like the hard edges there on the snow because it's not a lot of it, right? Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. I want to do the deer. Let's just 5 more minutes and we'll do the deer. And then I'll let you guys go. Well, you can go anytime. There's going to be a replay. So the deer is this peachy cream color right here, which I think I have up here, the deer color. I got lost. Okay, let's do up here. So first what I'm going to do is the peachy cream color, and kind of creamy, kind of thick, okay? Sure you can see. This is going to be the base. And here, because there's not, I'll put it like right here. You can kind of see what I'm doing. I really just want the base layer. And then I really just I do a touch of, while it's wet, I'm just going to do a touch of burnt sienna. And, on the back there, hind legs. And then a little bit of the Van Dyke brown for the legs and the tail, and do his antler. So we just want to get this kind of a nice base color. And now I'm going to rinse my brush, blot, get a little bit of burnt sienna, and blot it in. And I actually have a photo I grabbed from the internet. I just Googled, deer grazing. So I got kind of, to what it looks like to have a deer reaching down. So there's a burnt sienna. I'm going to mix a little bit of brown in there, and I'm doing all this kind of quickly while it's still wet, so I don't really have any hard edges on the colors. They're kind of just, I want them to kind of just blend. And then I have a nice, I have my pencil mark too, which it's okay if that shows. So I have two legs here, this one in the front and then this one in the back. These brushes are nice, get nice and a nice point. Get his little tail. All right, we're getting there. Thanks for hanging in there through the technical difficulties. I really appreciate it, you guys. Next weekend will definitely be smoother. Get some things figured out. All right, I'm gonna go a little darker. So how do I get my brown darker? I add a little blue, a little Prussian blue. There we go. It's drying fast. Like I said, we have the heater on. Now just to get his little hoofs, I kind of just do a tiny little smudge. Not a lot of detail. So this is drying really fast. I'm rinsing my brush. I'm grabbing a little bit of burnt sienna, and my brush is like medium wet, kind of watery. Not too much. That's kind of how you have to kind of figure it out for your own environment. Again, especially when you have your heater on. That brown just got really thick and dark. There we go. Okay. Yay, that looks good. Let's get his eye in there just for a little there, and his antler, just kind of define his ears a little bit. Not a ton of detail. He's just getting a little snow. Nice cool snow. Okay. All right, everybody. And I can make a shadow a little darker. Great. Okay. Any questions? Everybody good? Let me quick check on the... okay, good. No comments, no extra comments. Make sure to comment before we finish the live stream, so you'll be entered in for the giveaway. All right, if I can do details later on the deer, if I want to get anything darker, lighter, let's do the chimney. The chimneys, I'm just going to kind of do, you can see just kind of like a brown with a little Prussian blue just to get it darker. And if you need a reference, just Google cabin chimneys and you'll get a reference of a chimney. So chimneys are, a lot of them are stone. So I don't want to go too dark. I think I'll do a little bit of this Indian yellow, actually. Mix that in there. See if we get kind of a creamy. There you go. Add some water to get different values. Okay, let's just leave that. I'll do a little bit of a darker brown when it dries. And then let's do the windows, which is like a Prussian blue or a Payne's gray. we could do. So I'm just going to kind of mix what I have here just because we're in a hurry. Let me get this done. And I'm going to switch over to my size 2 for the windows. And again, this one is a lot of water. So a nice big bead there. And see how wet that is. And then I kind of spread it around and I get different values of light of the color. So a little lighter here, a little darker there. Then I can lift, right? So you can kind of get a glare in the window. And we'll do the same thing on this, on the center one. Then when it's dry, I'll go over it with the window panes. We still have to do the snow. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Thought I could get this done in an hour. All right, let me do this and then we'll do the snow really quick with the gouache. It's really exactly the same thing I did with the leaves, but with gouache. I used the fan brush. Okay, let that dry. Good. Let's go a little darker on the top here. While it's wet, it just kind of bleeds. It looks nice. Okay, so what I did, what I'm going to use, I think a lot of you are familiar with gouache. So what I'm going to do is, things really still wet. I always have, this is my gouache palette. I'm doing Winsor Newton Permanent White. And I always do a little fresh every time because it's horrible to activate, reconstitute, right? Okay, I'm getting my fan brush. It's clean. I'm dipping it in the water, but it's not that much water on it, just enough to activate the gouache, just enough to kind of move it around a little bit. So what we're going to do, and I suggest kind of have a scratch piece of paper. You get gouache on the fan, kind of an easy, even amount, right? And then you practice a little bit. So what you're going to do is the snow is going to be on top of the branches. So we're just going to do that. So you can kind of see and make sure how much gouache you have on your brush. You may need a little more water. You may need a little less. I've got to go to my photo. Okay, so here we go. So now we're going to do the trees. And they kind of fall. So when the snow is on trees, if I know some of you that are watching live in snow country, the branch gets really heavy, right? So you don't want to put snow like up. You know, I'm basically just following the reference, and they're really low, like they're waning, right? And I'm just kind of going right on top of the green, and it dries a lot lighter. So don't panic if you get too much. Then there's like a little bunch, so we'll get on each side here. So I kind of like to go down with it. And then if you get too much, you can always go over it with green, right? You can just do another layer of green. Get a little thinner, do a little bunch there, maybe do a little bunch right in the center. A little bunch up there. Let's do some little bunches since I don't have a ton on my brush. What I kind of do. I'm going to just do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit on these branches, and then like right in front of it. Yeah, if you have like a cheapy fan brush, definitely cut into it with scissors. It's really good for trees. So you can see how it dries a lot lighter. So it's really good to go over it. I went over the other one probably a couple times. I did another green layer, then I think I did another white layer. So a few layers. to get it really bright white. And again, kind of like any other color, you want different values of the white. You want some like really bright, and then you want some in the distance, not so bright. So here we go. Whoop, oh, kind of there. And then I'm just gonna keep dipping. There we go. And then you can just add some branches here and there. I'm just kind of dipping into here. Let's get over here with these. I think I need a touch more water. And that's pretty much it. Any questions while I start to wrap up? I do have a tutorial of the one I did, the first one I did. So I did video that and do that tutorial. Okay. The deer looks good. All right, I'm gonna attempt I have to pick a winner here. So let's do that. And you can watch the snow, see how it kind of comes up. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. It looks like all right, let's do this one too. 5 messages. And the winner is, let's see. It looks like it's going to be Christy Lee. So thank you, Christy Lee. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Christy Lee, if you could DM me via Facebook would probably be the best way, and we can communicate, and I will get your art box, your Joyful Watercolors art box out to you ASAP. So contact me, otherwise I will attempt to contact you. But thank you, everybody, so much for watching and getting through this with me. I will be doing something similar next week, and I will finish this up and post this similar. I'll make a little video of both of these together. And if anyone that is watching or watching the replay, there will be a masterclass on the Joyful Watercolors Art Club, which is going to be launching very, very soon, which is where these videos will be posted. So if you'd like to go to my website, mollysfineart.com, there's a place to sign up there. Okay, everybody, thanks again for your patience, for your comments, for hanging in there. Love you guys. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And I will talk to you for sure on our Zoom and in our membership and all over the place. Okay, and in-person classes. So thanks again for watching. Okay, everybody. Bye.